Eagles have hired their next head coach, or as I see it, the Eagles have hired their fall guy in the event that Carson Wentz continues to play poorly and is actually a disgruntled, diminished, and unconfident quarterback instead of just a quarterback that's having an off season. The Eagles hiring Nick Sirianni, who is a first-time head coach. He was the offensive coordinator in Indianapolis, where Frank Reich calls the plays, and we'll get back to that connection in a second. Frank Reich is a name that you should remember for this topic. First-time head coach, offensive coordinator with the Indianapolis Colts. He was a wide receiver and quarterback coach with the San Diego Chargers previously as well. So he's been in the league a long time, but he lacks any really strong head coaching experience, and he really also lacks a lot of offensive coordinator experience because even being the offensive coordinator, he didn't call plays in Indianapolis. Frank Reich did. And that concerns me for the connection that the Eagles are trying to make here. Sirianni is essentially, as we'll talk about, Sirianni is essentially a coach that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, can exploit and control and basically manipulate. Sirianni, as a first-time head coach, is going to have no power, as opposed to Doug Peterson, who the Eagles fired on the 11th of January, who has reason to have power. He's the coach that brought the franchise its first Super Bowl. He has that power. In comparison to Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni has nothing. If anything, he's going to be a yes man, and this is not an indictment against Nick Sirianni. I want to say that straight out of the gate. I don't know Nick Sirianni. I only know what I've researched about him. He could be a great guy, and he could have a great presence, and he could be a great football coach. But you can't ignore the fact that with this hire, you absolutely see what Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are going for, and that is a first-time head coach that they can tell what to do, and they can potentially make the fall guy if he does not succeed in what they're wanting to achieve. And what they're wanting to achieve is they want Nick Sirianni to turn around Carson Wentz. They are still very evidently committed to Carson Wentz, and this coaching hire would not have happened if Carson Wentz was not an Eagle. This would not have happened if Nick Sirianni was not the offensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts under Frank Reich. And here's the connection. Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator during the 2017 Super Bowl season in which the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and Carson Wentz had his best season as a pro. That is the connection. That's what they're hoping for. But they're not getting Frank Reich. They're getting the guy under Frank Reich. The guy under Frank Reich that hasn't called plays. The guy under Frank Reich who didn't coach in Philadelphia with Carson Wentz. And this real stretch is saying, well, if Frank Reich is there and he trusts Nick Sirianni as his offensive coordinator, then surely they must have similar philosophies. So that means if they have similar philosophies, he'll be able to potentially turn Carson Wentz around. And when you say it like that, and granted, this is a live show, I probably did not illustrate that as well as I could have. When you say it like that, it seems kind of stupid. I'm just saying. When you say it like that, you can understand why the Eagles want to hire this man. And if you're an Eagles fan, that's the only reason that you'd be optimistic about this hiring is the fact that, well, Sirianni served under Reich, who Reich was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia during the Super Bowl season, during Wentz's best season. And hopefully Sirianni aligns enough with Reich to the point where he can bring back our quarterback that is not only crushing the locker room, but he's also crushing our salary cap. This is an all-out effort to appease Carson Wentz. And if Carson Wentz continues to play as poorly as he did last season, which, again, really good quarterbacks have bad seasons. You know, every NFL analyst or everybody that you see on TV that is just destroying Wentz and saying that he's washed out, you know, that you shouldn't trust him at all, you know, I find that a bunch of hogwash. Like, there have been good quarterbacks that have had really bad seasons before. It's not out of the ordinary. It happens. But once you start getting more consistently 2-3 bad seasons in a row, then that's when you start to call it. So the hope if you're an Eagles fan is that this guy can somehow turn Carson Wentz. But again, when you put it in the big picture perspective, you're reaching for the fact that this guy who is under Frank Reich holds some of the same philosophy as Frank Reich, and enough philosophy, offensive philosophy, to not only be able to appease Wentz, keep him in Philadelphia, but also turn him into the MVP caliber quarterback that he was your Super Bowl season before he got hurt. And again, when you put all of that in perspective, it sounds kind of stupid. And that's why Nick Sirianni is I don't want to necessarily say a lame duck head coach, because again, I want nothing but success for Nick Sirianni. I want him to go in there and crush it. I am never a person to wish ill will on somebody, but he is absolutely a fall guy. He's absolutely somebody that, if this doesn't work out, which again, when you put it in the perspective that I have, you say, wow, this is really kind of a stretch for this franchise, and it probably won't work out if Wentz doesn't get it together, which the odds are statistically not in his favor. You say that guy, Sirianni, he's definitely a fall guy. He is somebody for Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie to point their finger at and say, hey, look, we tried everything. We even got Wentz a coach that was with, Frank Reich or has the same philosophy as Frank Reich, and he still couldn't do it. Like, it lies on the coach. He just couldn't get it done. I can already see that happening. It makes me upset because I hate to see a guy that could be a really good coach just get thrown under a bus for his first head coaching job by an ownership and a general manager that are specifically hiring him because A, they think he can fix Wentz, who might be unfixable. B, he's a coach that is a first-time head coach and has no power, and they can basically do or say whatever they want, and he'll have to mostly say yes. I'm not saying that he's going to be a complete yes man. Again, I don't know the personality traits of Nick Sirianni. We haven't even had an introductory press conference yet, I don't think. So Eagles fans, I hope you're praying to a God if you believe in one, because I truly see this as a disaster waiting to happen. Sirianni is absolutely a fall guy for in the event that Carson Wentz continues to be a subpar quarterback. He's going to be the fall guy if Carson Wentz continues to play poorly and doesn't return to anything like he was in his 2017 season, which, again, it might not be the fact that Carson Wentz is now a shattered, struggling quarterback. He might have just had a bad year, and obviously his relationship with Doug Peterson probably didn't help him. But the other thing is also there is another quarterback in the room called Jalen Hurts. And if Jalen Hurts proves to be better than Carson Wentz, either through preseason training camp, throughout the offseason, and even into the season, then that's going to make things even more complicated and even worse. And now the guy that you hired to try and fix your multi-million-dollar quarterback is now choosing to go with his quote-unquote replacement, and you just hired a head coach that, for the wrong reason, who is now going pretty much against what you were wanting. And what Howie Roseman and what Jeffrey Lurie are clearly wanting is they're wanting their investment in Carson Wentz to not come and bite them in the butt. And that's really, I think, the underlining subplot in all this is that they want to be right about Wentz so badly that they went and they plucked the understudy of the guy that was able to produce the best results with Wentz, and hoping and praying that he has enough and shares enough offensive principles with Reich to be able to turn around Carson Wentz, who, again, is he's being a diva, he's being a drama queen, which, if you're losing your starting job, yes, it's understandable, but still, you don't have to go and rock the locker room because of it. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops over time. I think that the Eagles have basically not hired a head coach. They've hired a fall guy instead. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this segment from the Hard Headed Sports Podcast. You've heard what I've had to say, now I'm interested to hear what you think as well. If you enjoyed this highlight from the show and want to watch more highlights from the show as they come out after the show's completion, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all very soon.